Hello and welcome to another daily devotion during this All Saints week. I want to share with you a story while we focus on worship and arts ministry in the church. It's a story I'm very fond of. I don't know if it's true or not, but it reminds me of things that have happened to me over the course of my time in ministry. And in one in specific, there was a punk kid who had come into the church. He had ripped jeans and chains and piercings and spiked hair, blue. And people looked at him and stepped away and thought to themselves, he shouldn't be dressed like that in church. And the boy walked down the aisle, confused about where to go. Nobody seemed to be really moving over and making space for him. In truth, most of the people probably didn't want to be sitting next to him. He's strange looking, didn't look like he belonged. And finally, they saw one of the elder statesmen of the church, somebody who everybody respected, who was kind of stern, and at times, maybe you describe him as stodgy, but very religious in his own life and in his practice, very outspoken at the church meetings. And he ushered. And he was walking down the aisle towards this young man, and people, to their relief, said, Edward's going to put this straight. He'll take him out to the back or, standing room, but certainly not in by the families. And as the story goes, the old man motions to the floor and invites the young man to sit there in the aisle. And the old man gets down and sits with him because all the proper church folks wouldn't move their seats. No room in the inn. I've always loved that story. And it reminds me of a moment when I dressed up as a homeless beggar and doused myself with Colt 45 and got a thrift store shop costume and rolled around the trash dumpster a little bit before church. And I knew the costume was working when I came into the gymnasium and the youth were there putting on a fundraiser for Super Bowl Sunday or something like that. And they didn't recognize me. And I had been their youth leader for 6 years. Every week we met. They didn't know who I was. So I thought, all right, this is going to be okay. And I went in there belligerently interrupting my co-pastor's sermon, which was on the Good Samaritan. What should you do for your neighbor? Who is my neighbor? And I got up there and took the mic from him, and he acted startled, although he knew what was going on. There was a hush. The ushers were unsure. They were having meetings in the back, huddling up. Should they go and stop me? Because at first I was sitting in the parlor there, and then I headed in before they could make their move to ask me to leave or to sit down with me or to ask me what was going on. And I just asked everybody if they knew me. And I said, you know me. And they thought to themselves, we don't know you. You're a stranger to us. You're a bum. You're a homeless guy. And then piece by piece, I began to take off the costume and the mask. And I said, you know me, but you treated me as if you didn't. You never know everybody's story. We tend to judge books by the cover, even in worship. And so part of worship and arts, while it's creating the space and the beauty of the worship space and maintaining the worship space, it's also creating an atmosphere where when you say, no matter who you are on life's journey, you're welcome here. You create an atmosphere where everybody is really keenly aware that we've got to work to live that out. Because each of us has our own biases and prejudices and struggles with somebody. And that somebody also has the divine image in them, is also made in the image of God, and is also likely someone who Christ would say, my brother and sister, welcome, for the kingdom of God is made unto such as yours. The least of these, not least in God's eyes, but in societies. Just because a person doesn't have as much doesn't mean we should treat them as if they are less. It's always a challenge for any church, but it is one that makes all the difference in the world when we live it out. So some things to consider the next time we go into the sanctuary to pray, to worship, to sing. Who is my neighbor? And what work do I put into it in worship to make sure that they feel home, not just with God, but with God's people?